Okay, so for those that don't know, on Sundays I do a series called Beyond the Face where I speak to different women that I find inspirational, whether they're known, whether they're not, in any industry that they are. And I've had around 6 episodes already. And on today's episode, I wanted to welcome my dearest friend, Ayydé, which many people probably have heard her voice, have seen her, know of her, maybe even follow her. And yeah, so thank you for being on this episode.
I'm honored to be here, Yanina. Thank you so much. And I love this platform that you've created in this space. So I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's just honestly, it's a place where we can speak about whether it's things that maybe a lot of people don't know about you from just knowing the side of you as Ayydé, the radio host, or maybe they just follow you on social media and don't really even know what you do for a living. It's
Right.
like, what are you besides all that? You know?
Awesome.
So okay, so obviously you were on Big Boy's Neighborhood for how many years?
6 years. 6 years. I was on air with Big Boy for 6 years. And probably a lot of people that are here, if followers, a lot of them still don't even know, like, why aren't you on there anymore? I get it all the time. Like, it just doesn't stop. And that's honestly very rewarding for me personally, because it's like, oh wow, like it's been a year and people are still asking, like, where are you? We want you back. But to just be completely sincere, the pandemic happened and I'm just like any other person, like a lot of people that lost their jobs because of the pandemic. I was laid off because of the pandemic. iHeart went through like a massive letting go of people because they were losing a lot of money. And yeah, so now I am here about to make a really big move. But yeah, that
So
that is,
what made you choose, like, how did you get into the radio world? Because I know it's a very competitive place. You have to start as an intern. I've heard horror stories.
I can't personally say that my journey was a horror story. Because it wasn't. That's why I know that I'm destined to be exactly where I'm at. I always wanted to be an attorney. I swore that that's what my lifelong dream was going to be. When I was a little girl, I would play being an attorney and I just would argue my way through things. And I wanted to be a criminal attorney. But when I got into college and I took my first crim class, I realized how messed up the system is and how um, I didn't even want to be a part of it, not even to go into it to change it, like to make that difference. I was like, nah, I'm good. Like, I can't even stand this class alone. Like, imagine law school. Like, there was no way that I was going to make it through there. So I switched, and then I was like, pero a mí siempre me encanta jugar con mis Barbies y decorar sus casitas. And I love like, just the aesthetic of an interior. So I was like, all right, well, let me go be an interior designer, right? So I was like, all I'm gonna do, I was trying to do anything possible to avoid math. I hate math. It is not my world. Like, 1 plus 1, let's keep it at that. So the interior designing, not knowing, like really blindly, I was just thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be able to just pick out colors and textures and lighting and fixtures and blase. No, I got like a really rude awakening when I this is the one thing that I want to advise everyone, like, please stay away from like these, what do you call them, like trade schools. I would say, like, is FITM a trade school? it,
Yeah.
it really
Yeah.
is grade school, because I just think that they have like this big money scheme going on. Like, FIDM, they're like, oh yeah, well, first we got to see if you can submit this project, and if you're accepted into our school, we'll let you know, blah blah blah. So like, okay, I'm up for the challenge. So I did this really amazing like board of this living room that I designed, and I was so proud of, right? And they're like, yeah, like, okay, you've been accepted. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been accepted into FITM. And I was so excited. Here I go, signing like this fat student loan, like for 1 semester. I think that was like $32,000 for 1 semester at FITM.
Yeah.
Why I'm saying to stay away from it is because you can get the same education at your like community college, the same thing, the same certification that you're going to get at FITM, you can get it at your community college and not be paying the amount of money and be in debt. Like, it was
Yeah.
dollars or what, ma'am? I didn't know what I was really doing, but when I got into that school, you know, I was excited. I was like, here we go. Ooh, we're talking about textures. Ooh, I like this. This is my world. But then one of my classes was full on architecture, like
Mhm.
on blueprints that were taking me
Which is math.
math, like the most tedious math. I was crying. I remember it was like one of my first assignments, and it was just, it was a lie. It was a lie. It was like not what I signed up for. And also, never, like, I salute anyone that's ever been able to be a full-time student and a job. I had a full-time job. I had my own apartment, and I couldn't do it. Like, my brain was just like, this is too much, because I'm that type of student that, like, I need to, like, fully be present in what I'm doing. Like, I can't have outside distractions, but at the same time, like, balancing like that work and student life just wasn't working out for me, and dealing with the math, like, I was like, this ain't for me either. So I bounced, and I kind of took a little bit time off of school, and I was like, I want to go back to school, you know, like, this isn't me. So then I went and got into Long Beach City College. So I went from San Diego State to Ferrum to LBCC, and like, my pride stopped me originally from going to LBCC, but I feel like that's where I should have started. Um,
Mhm.
I got there, I was late registration, and the only classes available were in radio and journalism and broadcasting. And I was just like, okay, well, some of these transfer overs, and I just took them up to fill up my schedule,
Mhm.
so I would be a full-time student, because I have
Okay.
student. And yeah, that's where it started. Really, I went into my first class, intro to careers in journalism and broadcasting, and it was love at first sight. I was like, oh my god, like, what have I been doing? Like, this this is it. I can combine my passion for music and talking. My mom always told me, eres una cotorra, like, cocina. I'm like, well, there you go. It was all written. You know, the crazy thing is that, like, I didn't even realize this, but when I was a little girl, I loved playing interviews with my friends or my cousins. Back then, there was magazines, these things, magazines, and I would love to get to, like, the interview part where they're interviewing, like, artists or whoever it is. So I would just take their questions, and I would ask whoever I'm playing with those questions, and it just all came back to me. I'm like, oh my god, I've been practicing for this my entire life. And because I ran into this guy when I was, I believe, like 17, maybe 18 years old. And he told some Mexican dude who's like, ¿Tú qué haces? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I feel like he was like one of the first people to ask me, like, what do I do for a living? I'm like,
Uh-huh.
I do. That's such a weird question, dude.
Yeah.
No te entiendo, yo soy una estudiante. He's like, no, pero ¿qué quieres hacer? And at that time, I still was thinking I was going to be an attorney. And I was like, yo voy a ser una abogada. And he's like, no. He's like, tú no vas a ser una abogada. He's like, tú tienes una voz muy hermosa. He's like, y tú tienes, tu don es, vas a estar en la radio. Tú vas a ser locutora. He told me that. And I was like, this wasn't even anywhere in my mind yet. And I was like, and the thing is, my cousin was like a witness to that. So we always trip out on that. I'm like, yo, years later, how that all came to be. He's like, you're going to be really successful at it too. He's like, watch. He's like, I know I'm going to be hearing your voice one day. And I didn't get his number or anything like that, because I've always wanted to just be like, damn, like, I want you to.
Yeah. Right. That's crazy.
Uh,
Okay, so you went to school, you did that, you fell in love with it, and then were there any parts? What was like the first thing that you could remember that did you ever second guess it? Did you ever hit a wall and you're like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this?
Yeah, of course I did. I think that everybody second guesses themselves, right? Very early on. I mean, when I first got started, I had my own little radio show that literally you had to be like within 10 feet of the studio to probably listen to it. It was the college radio. And I was very naive when I first, and eager as well, to get into the industry and have my big break, you know, and I didn't know how things worked. So when I first auditioned to be on a morning radio show, which was for Playboy Radio en Español, um, I got very discouraged because I didn't get the on air position, but I had no prior experience. I had any kind of dues, like other than doing my little radio show and
Right.
compared to real life, right? But here I felt like I was ready, like, yes, but I feel like that was my first point where I was discouraged. But I also got that fire under my butt because I knew I really wanted it. And I also was like, like, this is my first try. A lot of people have to go through internships and you never know. Well, they did call me back and they're like, well, we would like to have you as an assistant producer for the show if you're up to it. So I got the assistant producer job. I was like, yeah, like I would love to actually, because this way I get, the back end. I get to
Mm-hmm.
and now I know how to prepare myself better for this position that I ultimately want. My goal was always to be on air. Like that's the thing. And the trippy thing is that I always said, when I pictured where I wanted to be, of course, I'm born and raised in Los Angeles, and I grew up listening to Big Boys Neighborhood and hip hop. So the only place where I found myself, where I saw myself being a part of, was with Big Boy, and yeah, I manifested that somehow.
Now you gotta manifest who you see yourself next to next.
Girl, I already,
I already know you already have it somewhere written.
it's out.
Good. Well, I think that I don't know. I mean, I can speak for myself, and you can tell me your opinion. I've gone through many jobs and many different phases of my life. I told somebody the other day I feel like I've lived 7 lives because even at the age that I'm at now, I'm like, how am I this age and I've lived so much and people have no clue about it?
Mhm.
But every part of my life has taught me so much about myself. And I think that with me, I wouldn't have been able to get certain opportunities if I wouldn't have gone through certain things. So, yes, you were on air for 6 years. You got to talk to so many amazing people, interview so many special people that are with us today. And so many people haven't been able to do that even in their career that maybe has doubled the time that you've been. And but I also think about it, okay, now the person that Ayydé is today,
Mm.
would she be the same person today if the laying off wouldn't have happened in that exact timing? I like do you feel it catapulted other things in your life for you to also say, I also need to take the step here and here and here to make changes and to really as a woman be like, who am I as a whole? Because you put the pandemic also in perspective, and at least for myself, it made me really look at what is no longer serving me and who am I today and who do I need to rediscover in myself to be like, what steps do I need to take? So in the pandemic, when all that happened to you, did it kind of do a domino effect in other parts in your life as well?
I mean, when you say that it catapults, absolutely one. Like it's been very challenging. I how parents have been dealing with this pandemic because I don't have a family to take. I am my only responsibility, and it has been very, very, very hard to deal with. Like I still got bills to pay, I still have myself to take care of, so I can't imagine what parents have been going through and families have been going through having to deal with like being laid off because of so many people lost their jobs. But I feel like it's helped me rediscover who I am. And it's every day has been a challenge. Like it's an ongoing process nonetheless. But it also helped me reflect and be very secure as to who I am. Um, Everything that I've gone through, all the work, and the 10,000 hours that I've put in, to know that where I'm going next is going to be even greater. I believe it. I believe it. I think that this is, sorry, I feel like too much sun is in my face now.
Lord is shining upon you.
You know what I'm saying? I love this road on a Sunday. No, yeah. So as challenging as it has been, adversity has always been a constant thing in my life, and I am a trooper. I know how to get through things, so I don't give up. I'm not a quitter, and I take on and I accept the challenges. I allowed myself, I would say, a full year of just sitting back because I also think that this universal shift that happened hasn't happened for just no reason. Like, we're going through these changes for a reason, and some people are going to advance and some people are going to stay behind stuck because they're just not willing to wake up. But it has been a big awakening for myself, and I'm excited to see what's on the other end, you know. And I don't have a plan. I am moving to New York. I have postponed it. I'm trying to stay here, to be honest, through the Super Bowl, because how am I in LA, in my own city, and not going to go to the Super Bowl? Like, that's just not adding up to me, even though I don't like math. I really want to go to the Super Bowl. But there's just been some delays, and I'm really taking the biggest leap of faith. And the only reason everybody's been asking, like, why are you moving to New York, is none other than I'm listening to my voice, to my intuition, and whatever transpired when I was in New York, whatever those feelings were, whatever that was that happened was so real to me. And even without like a full on, like, I can't tell you, like, I have a job locked in, Yanina, like, I have this and this and this lined up for me. No, I don't actually. I just that I got this feeling when I was there, this calling, and that I'm willing to listen to it, because anytime that I've gone against my intuition has played out really bad for me. So as this grown ass woman that I am, I'm following my gut feeling and betting on myself, really, because I think that that's been one of the biggest lessons and most important lessons that with anything in life that you want to pursue, that I will give this to anyone, is believe in yourself. I don't care what you do. If you do not believe in yourself, nobody else is gonna follow after you. Like, if you do not have that in your heart fully, like, nobody else is gonna believe in you, so you're not gonna succeed. And also, you have to be willing to put in the work. Like, it's not just, oh, throw it in the universe. No, 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 no. You actually have to, one, have the talent for it, and be willing to put in the hours for it as well. Like, it's not just, let me throw it in the universe and wait for it to be served on the silver platter. It don't work.
I saw something the other day that it said, girls, I understand that you're all about intuition and crystals and your spirituality, but turning on those crystals and letting the moon fill them is not going to make that man or that job come to your front door. You got to work for it. You got to search within yourself, heal, and actually put in the hours and put in the work. So
And
I
really
definitely agree with that.
about that, like, and fully be present in what you're preaching, because I know a lot of girls, and this is not just the females too, because I can talk about males too. They're the same way, talking about, like, here are the crystals and here's spirituality. Like, no, you really got to be about what you're talking about. Like, it doesn't work any other way. So yeah.
So you did that, and like you said, you needed to follow your intuition. Now, what do you do when your intuition tells you that you're not doing that well right now? Like, what is your self-love, or what are some lessons that you've learned recently? I saw that you posted on your IG story some lessons that you learned about your last relationship, but besides the relationship, Ayydé as a whole, what are some lessons that you've learned maybe in the last year, 2 years, and that, maybe people look at this girl and they follow you, they hear you on the radio, and they're like, she's strong, she's confident, she's, so sure of herself, she's, like you said, talking all the time with so much, like, assurance. But at the end of the day, that's just such a small part of us, because we all have bad days. We all have days where we're insecure. We're human. We all have areas in our life that we're weak in. So what do you do? What is Aydé's, like, starter pack to feel stronger?
First of all, like, this has been a really long journey for me, to be honest, and this is something that I feel is a misconception shared amongst society because of social media, because we not to share the ugly, right? I personally, it's not that I care to, it's just, it takes a lot out of me to, like, vent and share that. Like, it's not my niche. It's not what I like to do. I'm okay opening, like, I will talk about it now, but yeah, like, people are always like, oh my God, you're so happy. Like, your life looks great. I saw you're on this trip and blase, blase. But again, like, it's taken me a lot to get to where I'm at, over this past summer, I got a 7-year relationship, which was really, really hard. It was very heartbreaking. And actually, I'm really surprised at myself at how resilient my heart is. I was shocked because when the breakup happened, I thought my world was like over. I was like, oh my God, like this was the love of my life. Like I thought this was like my man. I thought this was my forever, to be honest. But it turns out like it wasn't. And the biggest lesson that I've learned from that situation, and that's also helped me with other things, is just being okay with letting go, letting things end, like letting things come to end in their cycle. It's okay, because sometimes ends are new beginnings, and that's what it is. And appreciating that person and that situation for what it was when it was, but also allowing yourself to take what you need to learn from that person, that situation, and carrying on, because life goes on. And also, this person, I can't, this is not to talk shit about him. This person wasn't greatest to me. Now that the rose colored glasses are off, like, no, I am too good of a woman. I am too badass of a woman. I'm too good of a friend, a lover, to just have whatever minimal crap he was giving me. Like, wait, what? What is happening? I'm really, really excited for the next relationship I have, because I know that that next relationship is going to be the man that God has prepared for me, because I'm also putting myself out as in that position to meet my life partner. And I don't think that when I first met my ex, I was in the position to meet my life partner. I don't know if that makes sense. But you
Yeah.
aligned with what you want in life, you know, like what we talked about, like putting,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I've been a lot of work, and really it's when people, I really hope and I pray for everyone that's right now, that you're able to learn how strong your mind is and how beautiful it is when you can tap into knowing that it's okay to just let things go. And when you're able to have more power in your mind, like it's one of the strongest tools that we have. And sometimes I obsess over things that are like useless, and I'm like, why am I replaying this situation over and over and over and over again? I don't know if it's the Pisces in me or what. It doesn't serve me. It doesn't serve
Right.
me. So um
Well, I think it's also a control mechanism that, we get so used to something in our life, whether it's a job, whether it's a habit, whether it's a person, that the idea of it not being in our life anymore makes us not have control for that moment. But what we don't realize is that not having control causes us to redefine what's going to happen next.
that's
And in that fear of jumping, it's kind of when you're skydiving. You're so scared of skydiving, but you're gonna land safely because you either have a person on your back, or you've done this so much that you know the routine of how to land safely. But the problem is the jump. The jump is the scariest part, and then you realize while you're flying down that is actually so exhilarating, it's so exciting, and you're finding something new and you feel free, where you were in a job that maybe made you unhappy, but you were doing it out of the $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, $600 a month that you were getting, that you're like, at least this is confirmed, rather than me taking the risk and going for that career that I want, that I don't know when it's going to give me money. But then you jump, and out of nowhere you're making three, five, $10,000 a month, that you're like, why didn't I do this sooner? Or the person, you're in a relationship with someone that maybe they're not a bad person in themselves, because at the end of the day, everybody has their own journey. They need to do their own findings on their own. But this person isn't serving your life and what you're looking for, but somehow you're still staying there because of the potential of the person, or because you hope that they see and they meet you where you need them to. And the next thing you know, I've seen this so many times, the people end up that relationship, and either both of them find somebody better, or one person finds somebody better, end up married with kids all within like a year. And I'm just like,
how did
how
that,
did this happen?
did Cassie, that did she, like, look at how
Cassie did, yeah, that happened with Cassie, that happened with so many friends of mine. I think that's just like an overall life thing. It's like, let go of what doesn't serve you, so what does serve you can enter your life.
absolutely, if you don't make the space for the things that belong in your life, like you're gonna let this clutter just stay there. It's like you're hoarding necessary junk in your life. And that's on all aspects of your life too. Like it's not just in relationships, it's not, it's also within yourself, like letting go of Like, I think I said this yesterday on one of my stories, that one of the lessons that I learned too is like having to look back and reflect on yourself, like taking accountability for your own flaws is really important if you truly want to grow. Because if you don't see that, if you're not able to see that reflection and talk to yourself and accept where you're wrong, like you're not going to grow. You'll keep repeating the same thing over and over again. And sometimes we are the problem. You know, I'm not saying I was the problem in the situation, but I think that, you know, there is there is something to gain to accept your own flaws and take accountability for your own wrongdoings as well. So
Yeah, and I think we're also forever evolving. I was speaking to a friend the other day about relationships, and I said, you know, a relationship that is really long lasting, I really admire, because every 3 to 5 years as an individual, you change. So think about it. You meet somebody, and the first 3 years, within that 3 year mark, you weren't the same person that much that you were 3 years ago. 5 year mark, I was not the same person I was 5 years ago. I was not the same person I was when I was 21 years old. So at that point, it's like, how do you expect the other person you're with to still have the same wants, the same likes, the same, you know, all this stuff? Now, you would hope that the same thing goes for the negative parts of them, that they've chosen to look at that and fix and work on that. But a lot of the times we expand, but we kind of keep carrying on whatever's negative rather than focus on it, because it's Pandora's box. You don't really want to deal with it. So when I see people that are married for 25, 30 years, I'm like, wow, they've continued to evolve and evolve also together, where they accept each other and are able to grow together. And I'm just like, that's so amazing, because it's so hard to see nowadays. Um,
we're in a whole different generation. So I just think that it's really people's morals and values aren't the same, really. And I think that it just comes down to two different individuals. I think that this is why a lot of relationships fail, because you don't sit down from the get and really talk about what what is a partnership to you. Like define these things. What do you want marriage? And if you does that look like? What does that mean to you? Do you want children? Are we going to be sharing accounts? Like you have to have the difficult conversations, you know? And what is cheating? If I am DMing a girl or if I'm DMing a guy or responding hard eyes, is that cheating? On we have to talk about these things. It sounds silly, but no, like this is the world that we're living in. And unfortunately, because we are living in such like a fast world and everything is at the palm of our hands, there's a lot more temptation, I believe, than there was before, right? Because think like, oh, this is so easy. Like, here's this girl that's creeping up back from elementary. Like, I met,
not elementary.
let me tell you, it is so real. I'm using this because one of my friends who was a security guard at a place where I used to work, one day comes in bawling like this grown ass, big ass, like huge teddy bear of a man, right? Crying. And let me tell you, his wife was a boss ass be like boss, like a lawyer, like super successful, like a great mother, and just just crazy insane, like beautiful. Not him coming in crying because his marriage is about to just dismantle because of an elementary sweetheart. Okay, I didn't even know those existed. Hit him up on Facebook. Okay, I'm like, sir, get off of Facebook, get off of social media. You are too grown, too old for this. And I like what? And then he shows me the picture, not to bring this lady down, but I'm like, what? She how are things to go? Why are men so dumb? Like, why would you?
I think I think that, yeah, I do think that nowadays there is a lot of temptation, but I think it's also, I call it microwavable. So, you know, guy or girls, not to bash either side, but what happens is you get to know somebody, you interact with them, and whether it's because you lack wanting to let people close to you, or you like have fear of attachment or whatever it is, you start entertaining different energies, and different energies obviously are going to give you different vibes, and you know, you like different things. And at the end of the day, how do you ever connect with someone on a deep level if all you're doing is being entertained by different energies on a different day, on a different week? You're never going to have a strong connection, because spiritually you're never going to be able to connect to a spiritual level. You're going to, you know, I might be a woman of God, this girl may be a woman of God, this woman may be a woman of God, but how do you ever get to have a real connection for a future to happen if every time this girl annoys you because she said this, or this girl annoys you because she wanted this from you, or I annoy you because I put you in your place, or I like called out something that I didn't like, how is any connection going to happen? Or vice versa. Let's say like I'm a girl and I'm dating a few different guys from apps or whatever, and I'm just entertaining it for a fun dinner, for a fun talk. But I'm telling everyone I want to be a wife, I want to be married, I want to have kids. Then what are you doing? Because this interchangeable of energies, you're not only depleting your energy to be able to give it to somebody else fully and wholly, but you're also searching it so many places that you're never able to see if there's a strong connection anywhere. And I think that I do believe that the devil attacks when you're weak, and in things of like this sort, like literally in a marriage, you're gonna go through phases. You're gonna go in and out of love. You're gonna go in and out of times when you're bored, but you're making a commitment to a person that this is my person. This is the person I choose to live life with. And in that, that's so sacred.
It goes back, but I think that that goes back to what I said though, because it these are the fundamental things that you have to speak of with your partner, because just what like whatever we you and I think a marriage is or what we want in a relationship doesn't mean that the people next to us that are married have the same type of relationship. Like they could have,
1,000%.
like, oh, I'm okay with this. Going back to like the energy, like I think it's poor hygiene to just be everywhere. But for me personally, because it like it depletes me. It does.
Yeah.
And this is not just even within dating. Like I know a lot of people, but I am very selective of my time and where I spend my energy, period, because it's depleting. It really is. And I am a person that feels a lot. And so it's just, you have to practice good energy hygiene. That's what I call it.
Yeah,
And
and I think that's in everything. That's work, that's friends, that's family, that's partners. Because aside, like, yo, if you're sticking that energy in something, like I'm getting that energy when you're inside of me, not to be TMI, but at the same token, there's some friends, we all have those friends that we love them, but we can only hang out with them like once a month. I just, we're like, I love you, but after I hang out with you, I'm like, fuck, I'm tired, you know?
be like a 2-3 year car lease. I can't even read that anymore. It got lost. Hey, if that didn't do that, then maybe you shouldn't.
No, but I also do believe that like a marriage is a commitment between you and another person. It shouldn't be based on a fairy tale book. It shouldn't be based on any type of book. I think that, and yes, nowadays things have changed and a lot of things have been more open, and but that's the whole thing about marriage. If it works for you and your person, it works for you and your person. There is nobody else that can tell you otherwise. The problem is when you go into something and say, yeah, it works for you, but it actually doesn't. And it's because you're doing it to make somebody else happy and thinking that it's gonna be okay, or that it's just a phase of them. They'll get over it. And the next thing you know, this is a big part of your marriage. Let's say open relationships. You go into it saying you're okay with an open relationship, and 3 years down the line, the open relationship is still very real, very open, and you're kind of tired of it. And you're like, I don't want this anymore. But you agreed to a man or a woman that told you from the beginning they wanted an open relationship. So you can be mad at them, you can have resentment towards them, but at the same time, you got to look within yourself and you're like, I made this decision to be in this relationship, and they told me from the beginning that this is what they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, can you really fault them in that?
Yeah, no, you can't fault them in that. But I think that there's, I mean, because I went through that process, so I know. Uh, there's also a lot of again, like learning, and you do realize that even though, at least in my situation, even though this is what he said, then he also went and decided to be in a relationship, and was still holding on to his wanting of being in an open relationship. So he didn't, I feel, fully come into the committed relationship. Committed.
So, do you also feel like that also showed you that maybe in that time when you made that decision, you didn't know yourself fully because you made that decision?
Absolutely. I mean, I was very naive. I was very young. I never heard about what the hell open relationship was.
Mm-hmm.
Boyfriend at the time, so I thought it was going to be perfect. I was like, oh yeah, this is great. This works for me. I like this idea. But again, I was very naive. And when I realized it wasn't working or serving me anymore, I was vocal about it. And we tried for 3 years something different. That also didn't work. And it didn't work for him. So similar to
Yeah.
like relationship didn't work for me when we were in the committed relationship, it didn't work for him. So it is what it is. I'm not mad at it at all. Like, I wish him the best. I let him go with peace and love. I'm also not interested in keeping in touch with him because I don't believe in the game of the exes. Like, let's keep tabs. I don't give a damn. You're an ex now, so that's what you're gonna say. You don't get to keep access to me. It doesn't work. So yeah.
And then now in this journey, you've had to obviously look within and go
Can
to
you see
self
me?
love. Huh?
Can you see me?
Yeah.
That sound like really like I
No,
don't.
te ves bien brillante y linda.
Oh, perfecto. Okay, we'll go.
So now in this situation, you've transitioned two big things at almost at the same time, which is work and now personal life. So do you feel that the person you are today would be the person you would be today if you hadn't gone through both of those things?
No, absolutely not. I mean, nothing in my life has, like I told you, like I've gone through so much adversity either way. So I feel like I welcome it all the time, even though it might be with tears or whatever it is. Like, I just, the woman that I become after I get through and go through what I go through, is 10 times stronger and better than the one that was there before. So yeah, like absolutely, you have to almost go through that type of stuff to become a better person. And it's,
Mm-hmm. Wait, I lost you. You went mute.
can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you.
I said this is something for me personally that I practice. This is with or without adversity that I always tell myself I want to be a better human being than I was the day before. So no matter what it is, I challenge myself personally because I believe in growth. Like, and anything that's like not growing is dead, and I'm very much alive. So
What are some things you do when you just have bad days?
I mean, I cry it out. If I that's something that I've allowed myself to do now. That it's okay not to be okay. If I need to cry, if I need to scream, if I need to go perrear, whatever it is, I allow myself to do that. But I also give myself like if today's my sad day, today's going to be my sad day, you know, like I allow myself to cry today. But tomorrow we're going to wake up and we're going to change that up. Like I said, your mind is something really, really, really strong. So I just take a deep breath. I love to go do yoga and meditate. I love to be in the ocean. It's always very healing for me. I find a lot of solace in the ocean. So you'll often see me, if anybody doesn't know that by now, that's where I like to be. It makes me really happy. I go there, I listen to music, I read, I will journal sometimes. Sometimes it's a conversation with a family member. Like, my cousin is pretty much like my sister. So that girl knows everything about me. It's always like a phone call. I'm like, for example, actually, I could talk about this. So I had a huge anxiety attack. I call it a panxiety attack because
You said panzaddy.
it's a panxiety attack. Like, I don't know if that exists or I invented that because that's what it was. I panicked and I had an anxiety attack at the same time. And it was something like I've never had in my life. I was snowboarding. And I would say I'm a rookie snowboarder. All I know, like, I'm not scared. I am absolutely not scared. We had done bigger runs earlier in the day, and this was literally our last run. I just leaf all the way down. So I zigzagged my way down the mountain. And we were haha kiki, and I'm going down, and all of a sudden, like, I was floored. I was floored. Like, this fear took over me that I've never ever 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 felt in my life. Like, never. I just felt so tiny on this huge mountain, and that thing was like just steep. It was like straight on, just like this. And I was like, bro, like, me voy a morir. Like, nah, fam, like, we're not leaping down this. Like, no, it's not happening. And it just, like, I was just crying. Like, I sat down and, like, I was just like panicking, like panting, like no other. Like, my heart was about to like jump out of my jacket. I swear. And I was just crying. And then I was like, I'm embarrassed. And I was like, I'm embarrassed because my friend was next to me. She's like, no, it's okay. I was like, I can't believe, like, I'm trying. I was trying so hard to get back up, and I did. And then I was like, no, like, I can't do this. Like, you're gonna have to go get somebody to get me down this mountain because I'm not going down. I'm not sliding, like nothing. Like, I need help. And I sat there as she was gone, and I was thinking, like, it's mind over matter, like, breathe, like, you got this. But no, I really, I couldn't do it. And then some other snowboarders stopped because they were giving me compliments on my jacket. And the girl realized that I was crying. She's like, oh my God, are you okay? And I told her, I was like, no, I'm not okay. And that's another thing that I've learned to do, that when you're not okay, to be able to share it. I don't always want to talk to somebody, but in that moment I did, and to be okay with that, you know. And so I told her, like, you know, I need help. And they helped me get unstrap of my snowboard. I was going to go up. She had already convinced me she was going to take me down a different route. But at that time, the medical emergency people were up at the mountain. You know, I don't know what they call them, the people that are just like,
Mm-hmm.
sure that everybody's okay. I was like, oh, did my friend send you? And they're like, no, but are you okay? And I was like my big old tears. I was like, no, I'm not. But because I wanted to let her know that I'm going down a different route with this girl. And so at that point, they were like, this is so embarrassing. But he's like, oh, we actually can't let you go down. We were going to go down the ski to a different one. And like, we can't let you go down. We have to bring you down. So they strapped me up. And like, okay, I swear, so embarrassing. They strapped me up and they brought me down. And my friends thereafter went, you want to come out? I was like, no, I need to sit with myself. I need to decompress and unpack what took place at the top of that day, because I've never been through something like that. So I need some time alone. And that's part of what I do when I'm not okay, you know? So I fill up with bubbles or whatever, grab me a glass of wine, and I sat there and I cried it out. And it wasn't like a full, I cried less than I did at the top, but I was like, am I carrying other things? Like, did other things come out at the top of that mountain that I'm not realizing? But to be honest, I feel like I was just really afraid. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
that anything else came out because I had a lot of things going on. I was like, okay, it could have been this, could have been a little bit of this. Let's say maybe a little bit, but truthfully, like, nothing else was in my head in that current moment, but being afraid of where I was at. And you have to just pay respect to that, because it's not, if I need to show you a picture of where I was at. Like, it was not easy. Like, it's not for the faint-hearted. So also being kind on myself, you know, and like not being so harsh, being like, damn, like, I can't believe you got brought down. Like, no, like, myself props for being able to take on the rest of the day that I did, and it was
Yeah,
pretty.
and even being there to begin with. I know so many people that have never skied in their life, have never snowboarded in their life, and wouldn't do it out of the fear even of what if, or can I even do that, you know?
It's
Um, but you said something that I can resonate with, and you said that now you're able to talk about it, but in that moment you needed to process it and you needed to give your time to process it. And it's so funny because I always talk about traumas or past traumas that I've had, or past things that I've overcame, and people are always like, how can you talk about this? And I'm like, because I've healed from it, so now I can talk about it. And they're like, and I think that's something very important, to be able to share your stories to the right people, not like just randomly, but share your stories to the right people, whether like your intuition tells you right now it's a perfect moment for you to share this to a friend, to a stranger, to whoever it is, or in a platform, because your courage in overcoming whatever it is, whether it's being on top of a mountain, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a job, whether it's a personal, you know, battle that you've had, whether it's insecurity or body image, whatever, can help somebody else because they saw that you, the person they would have never thought, went through that and overcame it. And now it's just like, you know? So I appreciate you so much. I'm so grateful to have you in my life, in my real life, aside live. And I'm so excited for you. I tell you this all the time. I'm so excited for you, New York. I do believe it's going to be a monumental moment in your life, and it's going to catapult you to levels you never even imagined. And we're for sure going to hear you and see you very much for forever in time. So thank you for taking time out of your Sunday to talk to us, to share with us, and just let us see another side of you. I appreciate it.
So much. I appreciate you, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm excited to see what else your journey has in store, because obviously I feel like both of our faces and our voices are going to be seen and heard for a very long time. So, and I appreciate you as a friend and having you in my real life as well.
Love you. Well, have a great Sunday, and I'll have this up on YouTube and an IGTV by tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and giving your comments, and until next time.